Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Eman Fatima and my roll number is 3118. I am representing group number 1 and the general topic me and my whole group is discussing is obesity. Now the topic I would be discussing here is complications of obesity. First of all, I would like to have a glimpse on the definition and introduction of obesity. Obesity is usually referred to excess body fat. When the fats in the body exceeds a normal amount, this is called obesity. Obesity is actually the risk factor of many diseases, so it is very important to prevent this. The criteria, we can say the scale which we have to determine obesity is BMI. BMI is actually body mass index. It was adopted by World Health Organization. It is determined by weight in kilograms divided by height in meters. We have to take the square of height. If the value of body mass index is equal to or greater than 30 kilograms per meter square, the person is said to be obese. If you want to prevent obesity, and you must prevent it because obesity causes many diseases, so if you want to prevent obesity, you should control this value. Now let's move to the topic morbidities related to the obesity. Obesity is actually called as mother of diseases. It causes many diseases. One of them is shown here, diabetes mellitus. Other include hypertension, osteoarthritis, blood diseases, heart diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and many other are included in this list. Let's start with diabetes mellitus. Actually, this is type 2 diabetes because obesity causes type 2 diabetes. Obesity leads to insulin resistance, and insulin resistance causes type 2 diabetes. How obesity causes type 2 and how obesity causes insulin resistance, it is shown here. Obesity, as I have mentioned earlier, is excess body fat. These excess fats are stored in adipose tissue, and adipose tissue releases excess fatty acids, excess hormones, and excess pro-inflammatory cytokines. Actually, when fats are in excess, these three ingredients are also released in excess amounts. Our interest is in pro-inflammatory cytokines. Pro-inflammatory cytokines are actually inflammation causing small signaling molecules. Increased pro-inflammatory cytokines really cause insulin resistance. How these cause insulin resistance? Let's see here. Excess caloric intake. Obesity is actually due to excess caloric intake, leads to accumulation of adipose tissue. Adipose tissue cause when these are stored in adipose tissue releases pro-inflammatory cytokines. Pro-inflammatory cytokines lead to chronic inflammation. As I have mentioned, these are inflammation causing molecules, so these cause chronic inflammation, and this inflammation blocks insulin signaling pathway, so insulin resistance is caused. Insulin is just like a doorbell button. When the person presses the doorbell button, doorbell rings, door is opened, and the person is allowed to move inward. When the doorbell button is not working properly, the bell would not be ringed. Bell is not rung, and the door is not opened, and the person is not allowed inside. Same is the case with insulin. Insulin is just like a doorbell button. It is actually the receptor on the cell surface. Let me mention here, I am drawing a cell. Suppose this is insulin. These are actually the receptors. Glucose, this is suppose this is a glucose molecule. This comes and binds with this receptor. This receptor allows it to move inside the cell. Inside the cell, the glucose is processed further and energy is released from it. When the insulin is not when this receptor is not working properly, the glucose is not allowed to enter the cell, so the glucose will be uh, accumulated in the circulatory system. So insulin resistance causes no glucose transport. Glucose is not transported in the cells. No glucose transport, and this causes high blood glucose level, and this is called type 2 diabetes. Insulin is producing, but it is not allowed to enter the cell, and it is not allowed to process further, so it is accumulated in the circulatory system, so it causes the high blood glucose level. This is called type 2 diabetes. How obesity causes type 2 diabetes. Now the next disease caused by obesity is hypertension. Hypertension is actually the high blood pressure. Obesity leads to weight gain. It is actually increase in BMI, body mass index. When body mass index increases, the person gains the weight. It is actually the risk factor of hypertension. Obesity leads to increased weight. The more you weigh, the more need of blood supply to the organs and the tissues. It puts pressure on the circulatory system. Uh, Let us understand it with an example. Suppose one person is weighing 65 kilogram. The heart of this 65 kilogram weight person is designed to supply blood this 65 kilogram mass. When this 65 kilogram person becomes 85 kilogram in mass, so heart has to apply force. Force is applied on heart to supply blood to this 85 kilogram person. So when force is increased on heart, it puts pressure on the circulatory system. When force increases, so pressure on the circulatory system increases. Waist circumference also determines the obesity and hypertension. When waist circumference increases, it shows that person is becoming obese, and it causes hypertension. So this is how obesity causes hypertension. The next disease is heart, related to heart diseases. Obesity is the major risk factor of heart diseases. Obesity leads to higher cholesterol level and higher triglyceride level. Due to obesity, cholesterol and triglycerides level increases in the blood. This is the substantial risk of increased diabetes. Um, the mechanism could be the same I have discussed earlier, how obesity causes diabetes. So it is the risk of heart diseases. So how this is the risk? Let's see. Excess fats. Obesity leads to excess fats in the body. Due to excess fats, high blood pressure. The mechanism is shown here. uh, Obesity causes high blood pressure, and this high blood pressure causes blockages in arteries. So let's see the mechanism. Excess fats release pro-inflammatory cytokines. I have mentioned earlier that excess fats release pro-inflammatory cytokines. These are inflammation causing molecules. These cause inflammation in vessels. So this causes narrowing of vessels become narrow, and this increases blood pressure, and this increased blood pressure damages many organs like heart. It puts pressure on heart, and this is actually the substantial risk of heart attack. The next disease is osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is very common in obese people. It is actually a condition where, due to wear and tear, the joint cartilage is inflamed. Osteoarthritis is actually a wear and tear disease. It means that with the increasing age, the disease is more likely to appear. The aged and the obese people are more susceptible to develop osteoarthritis. It is most common in weight bearing joints, like knee joints, because the weight of whole body is put on the weight bearing joints. So when weight increases, so the disease is more likely to appear. It is due to the dysregulation of adipokines. When dysregulation of adipokines takes place, it causes osteoarthritis. Adipokines are actually the hormones of the adipose tissue. Let me mention here hormones from adipose tissue. Adipokines, dysregulation of adipokines causes osteoarthritis. The mechanism is very complicated, which I am not going to discuss here. So the other cause is fats. In obesity, fats accumulate. These release inflammatory chemicals like pro-inflammatory cytokines. These cause inflammation in joints. So inflammation in joints is actually the osteoarthritis. So obesity causes osteoarthritis. The last disease I am going to discuss is dyslipidemia. Dyslipidemia is actually the abnormal levels of lipoproteins. When the levels of lipoproteins become abnormal in the body, this is called dyslipidemia. These abnormal levels are actually the reduced HDL. HDL is actually the high density lipoprotein, and higher level of triglyceride. These two are associated with obesity. The mechanism of this association is very complex, so I am not going to discuss here. So obesity causes dyslipidemia by the abnormal levels of HDL and triglycerides. Uh, Many other diseases are also related with obesity, which include cerebrovascular diseases, metabolic syndrome, pulmonary abnormalities, gastrointestinal abnormalities, or reproductive disease, psychosocial problems, and cancer. These all diseases are also associated with obesity. So obesity causes so many diseases. The only solution to this problem is to prevent obesity. To prevent obesity, nutrition modification is very important. You should maintain your diet, exercise daily, prevent junk foods and sodas, and many other measures can also be taken. So prevention of obesity is very important to prevent many diseases. So this was all about my topic. Thank you very much.